is the Inside TRAQ. We discuss health, healthcare, and medical insurance simplified. Powered by Total Risk Administrators and the TRA experts Warren, Alan, Dr. Avron, Rena, Geoff, and Kim. Sharp insight, real conversations. Let's go.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Inside TRAQ. This is our podcast that is powered by TRA. And in the Inside TRAQ, we want to give you the information that you need at the right time. I'm joined by Doc Avron and Alan Fritz, and we've got some exciting news for you today. Those who watched our podcast last time saw that we started a series on female sexual wellness, and the response was great to that.
Incredible response.
Yeah. And talking about responses, last year we got up to 13,000 views for our podcast series. And for this year, we're hitting it. We want to double that.
At least I'd like to get 50,000 views.
Absolutely.
And I think with the topics coming up, I'm sure we'll easily get there.
Yeah.
And I think just to say we had an incredible response to the first episode on female sexual wellness, and a lot more to come.
And I think the important thing is that a topic that might be seen to be a bit sensitive to cover, we want to make sure it's done professionally. And I think that's what our doctor did for us. And we're going to listen to the second episode. So I don't know if you want to introduce that for us.
Yeah, so just to remind our listeners, we're listening to Dr. Elna Rudolph, who's a medical doctor and a sexologist in South Africa, an expert in her field, leads a lot of forums locally and internationally. She's got a huge amount of knowledge. We love her style because she just talks openly and easily about it. Yeah. In the first episode, we spoke a lot about medical issues, and really in the second episode, we moved across to a lot more relationship issues, when you should reach out if you have a problem, etc., etc. So I think a lot of those important topics that were left hanging out of the first episode, we managed to cover and finish off in this episode. So it was really, really interesting and a lot of information, and hope our listeners and viewers enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's quite topical relationship, so they will find our viewers will find a lot of value in it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Let's listen, not share.
Yeah, let's listen.
Now, Nick, you mentioned hormonal changes, and can we move on to that? Right. Obviously, hormones play a huge role, obviously, through a woman's life, through a man's life as well. But we're focusing on women here. How do hormonal changes through, say, puberty, pregnancy, postpartum, and then into menopause affect your sexual well-being? Sort of, if we can track it, let's say from puberty and as you go through those different life stages, how would it affect the sexual well-being of the person?
I think certainly when I was in medical school now more than 20 years ago, we were definitely not taught what a significant impact hormones have on our neurophysiology. It's massively active. When they taught us about serotonin, noradrenaline, dopamine, testosterone and estrogen are equally important there. Well, if you ask me as a sexologist, of course, I'm sure some of the neuroscientists might disagree, but they are neuroactive hormones. So as you get exposed to them in puberty, they change your brain. And then as you develop that brain, the sexual development is very much a social integration development, apart from a physical development. So it informs the way that you socially integrate. And then as relationships start to form, most people form sexual relationships. They're not everyone. And the diversity comes into play significantly. And then in reproductive years, what hormones do to your brain is actually fascinating. I've got good friends who make a living internationally out of studying this impact. And it's fascinating. It's actually quite different from what we thought. If you look at something like PMS, for instance, we thought that women respond with, let's just make it simple, irritability, actually because of a rise in progesterone and then a fall in estrogen just as the cycle is about to start. But if you actually look at the point values there, it's way different. And the GABA activation of with the progesterone actually has massive difference in inter-individual differences, so you cannot really say women are like that and men are like that. And premenopausal women are like that and postmenopausal women are like that. There's massive interpersonal variation. I think where we are coming to is just the acknowledgement of the fact that there is massive variation. And, variation is the enemy of public health. So if you're trying to keep the whole country healthy, if you're trying to develop policies and guidelines that will at least prevent cancer in most, that will promote more or less general kind of wellness in most, then you don't like these variations between individuals because you're trying to treat almost everyone exactly the same. Sexual health doesn't work with that. It just doesn't. We abide by things like vaccination, like cervical cancer screening, breast cancer screening, those kind of things, absolutely. But the individual impact of varying hormones is really massive, and you need a clinician who can pay attention, who can listen, who can guide the person through the chaos of the multitude of magnitude of the messaging out there, and all the supplements everyone is trying to sell to them to manage their perimenopause, etc. But it's a very individualized approach, actually.
Right. So in other words, what I'm trying to get at is that if a woman came to you and said, okay, she's having obviously sexual wellness issues, would you look at their hormone status, their progesterone, estrogen, and say testosterone, and adjust it accordingly to what you would think would be normal levels?
Yes, absolutely.
And I suppose that would be the same premenopausally and postmenopausally?
If the woman is premenopausal, she is producing a lot of hormones herself still. So there you cannot actually, what you can do there is like put her on the pill to switch off her own hormone production, but that will also switch off her testosterone production and actually increase the SHBG, which is often not great for sex. In postmenopause, you replace the hormones. You just give her what she needs. Perimenopause is the complicated one there, because she starts to lose the testosterone first, then she loses her progesterone and then her estrogen, and you then try to replace what is necessary as it becomes necessary. And again, those kind of things are not within the public health kind of guidelines because it's just too difficult to individualize for the whole population. But yes, so perimenopause, we will do it individually. Premenopause, we typically don't treat low libido with hormones. In some selected cases, I do use testosterone, but that's off guidelines, and actually, it could be potentially teratogenic, so you have to be really careful. And postmenopause, I definitely do.
Right. Okay, so hormones play a very important role, and depending on the life stage of the woman who you're consulting with, you actually look on it. It's on an individual basis, but something that's very important.
Yeah.
Elna, can we move on to sort of the mind-body connection, right? And this comes up a lot. We've done a lot of shows on mental health, stress, body image, relationship factors. That whole mind-body connection, how important is it sort of in the sexual wellness framework? And are you involved in treating that? And how do you treat that?
Absolutely. It's of utmost importance. Sexuality is an embodied experience. You cannot, there's no distinction between sexuality and who we are as a person, how we perceive ourselves. Well, if I say no distinction, I think my academic colleagues will immediately disagree with me. But the point is, sexual health is always also psychological. So I, as the doctor on the team, focus my attention, or the patient decides to see me, or a colleague decides to refer to me because they think that there is primarily a medical aspect that can be addressed. But we always work in a trauma-informed lens, always, because there's so much trauma. And we always acknowledge biopsychosocial, cultural environment, and we refer to my colleagues that are more equipped than I am. And it's interesting, just maybe good for our colleagues to also understand, because things are getting a little bit more liberal and there's more sexual health services out there now. I think for us as HPCSA registered clinicians, it's extremely important to make sure that we make the right referrals, because you might have a sex coach in your neighborhood and they come to you showing you their international qualifications, and they might even have some kind of a board registration. But still, for us as clinicians, refer to someone with the HPCSA qualification, registered qualification. That means it's someone that's registered in South Africa as a psychologist, and then on top of that, they further their education in sexual health, because we see a lot of people who don't have good, strong ethical grounding in their primary training, and then they venture into something as sensitive, where ethics is so extra important as sexual health, and they sell themselves. And we as doctors don't always know that, oh no, this person actually might be doing body work, they might be having sex with your client themselves in the therapeutic process, which is obviously for us completely out of the question.
Thanks for that. That's important information. So let's just build on that a bit. We've got a woman listening to this podcast who is experiencing sexual wellness issues. Where does she start? Who does she go to first in terms of to approach someone to try and deal with this issue, be it low libido, pain on intercourse, or whatever type of sexual problem she's dealing with?
Look, I would like to say she goes to mysexualhealth.co.za and see if there's a provider close to her, because she knows that person they registered with the HPCSA, they've had at least extra 100 hours of sexual health training every year, they're getting their 30 additional hours of training, they're under supervision, they're working in the context of a multidisciplinary team. So I really think that's a great place to start. If there
is that an accredited network, mysexualhealth.co.za, of accredited health professionals that have the required qualification and it's nationwide, that an individual can go to if they're experiencing those issues?
Yes, that's exactly what we offer there. It's an accreditation program, so everyone that you find there, you can know that they are accredited.
And we'll certainly put that website on this podcast. Ken, now we speak a lot about this on our show, lifestyle habits, right? Can you just, things like sleep, exercise, nutrition, stress management, what are the most, from your perspective, what are the most important lifestyle habits that support healthy sexual functioning?
So on the one hand, if someone has sexual pain or a massive desire discrepancy or cannot orgasm or have premature ejaculation, or even on the men's side, and you just tell them eat better, sleep better, it's not going to fix it, okay? But on the other hand, as we started out in this podcast saying that health and well-being and sexual health is exactly the same thing. So all those things that you hear on these longevity podcasts, they all apply directly to sexual health. Sleep is crucial, and to have a maintained endocrine system is so dependent on cortisol, and cortisol is so significantly affected by how you sleep, So yes, sleep is important. Regular exercise is extremely important. Having a healthy cardiovascular system, you cannot have cannot, but it's much more difficult. If you think of the coronary arteries, and then of that same arterial system supplies the clitoris and all of the vagina and the vulva, and the same with the penis, you have to have a healthy cardiovascular system, or it's very important to have one for good sexual response, genital sexual response. And then you have to have a healthy, strong brain that is not depressed, that's not anxious, that's not burned out, that's not overwhelmed for good sex. And for that, you also have to have all your other health things in place. A good diet, I think, the Mediterranean diet, there's so much research about its benefits, and it goes for sexual health as well. But also that Mediterranean lifestyle of moving your body mindfully in communion with other people. It's so important for sexual health, being able to have that mindful, embodied experience in other areas of your life. If you living just this life where everything is rushed and just you're so purpose driven and you just go. That's not the place for good long-term relationships. Yes, maybe if casual sex and this once-off encounters is what you're after, fine. But if you're trying to build something wholesome and sustainable, then you have to look after your general well-being very well.
Sure. And just building on that, on the male side, and I've been wanting to ask this question, which we do get asked. We know that say if you get erectile dysfunction, yes, that's an issue in itself, but it's an early indicator of maybe other vessel diabetes, other diseases. Are there similar issues on the female side that you could pick up that you're having a problem with your sexual wellness or functioning that could be indicators of other diseases going on that
Yes,
women should look at? And
absolutely.
give us examples of those.
It's exactly the clitoris and the penis, they're the same organ, so it's exactly the same. And then vaginal dryness is something that we should be paying much more attention to. It means that there is, amongst other things, reduced blood flow and change in the local hormonal state. So it is something that should not be ignored. It should not just be treated with lubrication. It should actually be treated with topical estrogen. And we know now that it's even safe in breast cancer patients, the topical estrogen. So that should really be addressed. I would say that's one thing that you should pay attention to. Losing your ability to orgasm is also something that you shouldn't just ignore. It could be an indicator of or indication of significant other health issues like thyroid problems or high prolactin. I diagnose at least, I would say, 2 or 3 brain tumors a year based on sexual dysfunction.
So don't ignore it, right? I mean, if there is, and we've spoken about this and hopefully educated our listeners that you should get this investigated.
Yes.
Well, and another question we ask you is on lubricants, right? Is a lubricant a lubricant a lubricant? In other words, what are the ones that individuals need to use for their sexual wellness? What should they look for when they're looking for a lubricant?
All lubricants are certainly not created equal. So the cheap stuff that even we as doctors use in our practices is full of sugar. So
give us an example. What would that be if an individual goes to a pharmacy and buys something?
Like your typical KY jelly, and I mean, not that I want to diss any particular brand, but a typical water-based lubricant. This is also a public health legacy because we were punting water-based lubricants as opposed to things like oil-based lubricants and Vaseline with condoms in our days of massive HIV prevention. And then people started believing that water-based lubricants, that would be the ultimate. But to produce a water-based lubricant without sugar is almost impossible. There is one brand that does that I know of. So we use silicone-based lubricants, much nicer. Once you've used a silicone lubricant, you will never use a water-based lubricant again. And it's just pure silicone molecules, literally silicone, like like that's on the elements table. So just silicone, and it binds together without any other additives, and they don't have to put any sugar in it to keep it stable, and it works like a bomb. So silicone lubricants.
So and those are readily available.
No, they're not readily available. We import them from Germany, so it's not that easy to find a silicone lubricant. But
so where would an
you buy
individual?
a bottle,
sorry, go ahead.
It lasts you. It costs probably 400 Rand or so, but it lasts 6 months to a year. It's not. It goes a very long way because of its silkiness.
So if individuals want to look for that silicone-based lubricant, where would they find something like that?
You can find it on mysexualhealth.co.za, but you can put in buy silicone lubricant on Google, and if there are other providers, you'll also find it there.
Fine. Building on that, are there, without having to go to sexual health providers, et cetera, we often ask what supplements can individuals take? Are there just general supplements that can improve your sexual wellness? Is it a misnomer? Is it a marketing scam? Are there any supplements that, say, you or the Sexual Health Association would recommend?
Look, unethical for doctors to endorse any particular supplements, right? In terms of evidence-based, proper, legit evidence-based, I think pycnogenol has some good evidence when it comes to sexual health, and there are some pycnogenol-based supplements in South Africa. L-arginine, if added to the pycnogenol, might have some benefit. But then there are lots of other things that are sold as that, and I don't think the evidence would. Well, I'm not aware of any publications in peer-reviewed journals that can say very pertinently, specifically.
Right.
Then you hear a bit of saffron, and then you hear something here and there. But I think people often start there. They just buy something And what I also see, what we have at My Sexual Health shop, we do have some supplements that we sell there, and obviously I won't put something up there if I didn't think that there is enough evidence for it, but you don't get massive resales. Where if I put a woman with low testosterone on testosterone, she keeps on buying it for the rest of her life, usually.
Yes.
And by the way, that's not always necessary, because often if you just switch on the sexual response cycle again, people don't need the testosterone supplementation forever, because it's not like fixing that hormone level. You don't fix it. It only goes up during the time of treatment, but the brain changes and the relationship changes and the physiological response changes, so you don't necessarily need it forever. But I don't see massive amounts of resales on these supplements, so I think it's not something that we as healthcare providers should be rather stick to making sure that there are no medical reasons, and if you can't find medical reasons, refer patients to psychosexual providers to go and look for the psychological reasons. I think that's a better approach than punting supplements.
Right. Eleanor, as we finish, almost get to the end of this podcast, what are the biggest red flags women should not ignore? So, Eleanor, what's your most important piece of advice for women who feel something isn't quite right, and they're wondering whether they should go seek help or not? What are the red flags that a woman should look out for?
Look, those are the things that we learned in gynecology. That's postmenopausal bleeding. It's a breast lump. It is a vaginal discharge that has a funny smell to it, or that causes particular burning or injury, and sexual pain. Those things are things that should be treated medically.
Those are, you would say, red flags, and go seek help. And as we've discussed, on the Sexual Health Association website page, one can find practitioners.
Yes. So look at the Southern African Sexual Health Association page. Those are just people who say, I'm interested in sexual health, and they pay their few $100 a month a year to be part of that organization, which I think is fantastic, and I can encourage all healthcare providers to do that. But that's not an accreditation body. So accredited sexual health providers that are monitored and abide by all the rules, that's on mysexualhealth.co.za.
Sure. Are there any last piece of advice that you would, we will have a lot of women listening to this podcast on female sexual wellness, any piece of advice you'd like to leave them with?
I think pleasure is the measure. So politically, women's sexual pleasure has never been on the agenda like it is now, and it's super important that we have pleasure as the measure. If you're having sex that's not pleasurable, it's not good enough. It either means you're coerced into it, it means your body is trying to tell you something that your heart and your brain might not be willing to tell you about that relationship. It means that there is something physically going on with your body, or it just means that you haven't invested enough time and energy into figuring out what gives you pleasure. So it's really important to have pleasurable sex. You can have way less sex, but it should be pleasurable. And pleasurable doesn't necessarily mean orgasm or 3 orgasms. It means taking something really positive out of that encounter. That could be on a relationship level. It could be on a self-actualization level, whatever it is for you. So pleasure is the measure.
Eleanor Rudolph, sexologist, medical doctor, global advocate. Thank you so much for your time spent. It's been really interesting. I'm sure we'll end up having a follow-up show, but thanks for your time on this podcast.
You're welcome, everyone. Glad to be here.
Thanks a lot.
Well, there you have it. I mean, I think we've covered this topic so well. And we discussed off air about doing a version for males, sexual wellness.
Definitely.
Because it affects, what we heard from her in her interview was that male and female sexual organs are the same.
Yes, exactly.
The responses, the things that can affect you as a female can affect you as a male. So we want to cover that as well.
Exactly. And we've had a lot of comments on that from our male listeners. So we definitely will be bringing the experts in and do an episode, or 1 or 2 episodes on male sexual wellness. So just look out for that coming up. But I think a lot of lessons learned. And we'd love to hear if you've got any comments, questions coming out of that podcast, or either of the 2 on female sexual wellness, please send it through. We'll put the email address up at the end of the episode.
Good.
Right. Good.
In the last episode, we spoke to Rena Wheeler from who's our head of IT operations. Today, we're going to chat to Geoff. So we did have a little interview with him. We asked him particularly how technology and artificial intelligence, or AI, as we all know it, how does that technology take our business forward as a short-term insurer?
Yes.
So for our viewers out there, there might be viewers who are part of a smaller company. They might run their own business. They might run their own department. What are they doing? What are you doing as viewers to adopt, this technology? I think our interview with Geoff will be an inspiration as to how we can take that, going forward. So let's have a listen.
Right.
And
Looking forward.
yeah, it's incredible, really. Hi, everyone. We've got Geoff du Preez with us today. He's the Chief Operations Officer of TRA, and he's got some excellent information for us regarding technology and artificial intelligence and how we're adopting it in the TRA environment. So, Geoff, welcome. Thanks for being on our
Great,
podcast.
thanks, Warren. Thanks for having me here. The podcast is doing wonders.
Sure.
Really happy with how it's performing.
Sure.
Can't wait for the next one.
Can't wait for the next one. That's exactly what we say, because we keep on building on this concept, and it's working so well. I think today the question that really is going to be on top of mind of a lot of our viewers is, how has technology and artificial intelligence in particular taken our business forward as a short-term insurer?
Okay, great. Good question, Warren. So as you know, I'm very much an AI fanatic.
Sure.
And what I do even in my spare time is research what's new, what's happening, how this industry is evolving, etc. So I think just based on all of that, it was kind of obvious to bring it into the business. I think from a member perspective, we want to make the customer journey a lot better, more efficient, less touch points. So if there is a gap cover claim, the member submits it in an easy, seamless manner. It's processed quickly, it's processed correctly, efficiently, and then payment back to the member. So, and they're ticking all the boxes around TCF, all the regulations that we have to comply with. And I think that's a good story all around.
Yeah.
I think from a broker perspective as well, I think what we can now do is have the tools that we can give to the broker to enhance their offering to their clients, to grow their broker books, etc. We're doing something nice with some of our brokers at the moment, using a lot of AI, new campaigns. So we're looking forward to the outcomes on that.
Great. And then what about, just from internally from a business? So we've got these facilities where artificial intelligence can help us be more efficient within the business. Simple things like paying claims. So yes, the member will see a different experience, but how does it affect us, our staff? Our day-to-day working.
Sure.
I mean, how?
So I think the future with AI is the people who know how to use it.
Yeah,
I think that's where the future lies.
Yeah.
And I think from our staff perspective point of view, it's always going to be breakout to a human.
Yes.
So whatever we build, all the automation we build, all the processes we build using AI, and as I said earlier, to create a better member journey and a broker experience, I think there'll always be the human touch to it that our staff will provide, but it's just taking the business to another level where we can do things smarter, faster,
yeah.
more efficient.
Yeah. I just think of typical scenarios like wading through pages and pages of information.
Yes.
That you and I would sit for weeks going through information, going through documents to come up with a one-page summary. Now you've got artificial intelligence that you can prompt to summarize for you, but with using our minds, So saying, I want you to focus on, for this document, but give me the summary, because this is the aspect I'm looking for,
Correct.
Whereas it would take us weeks to sort of do that.
100%.
And
so on that note, what we're trying to do is we're building a claims engine. So we're teaching the AI to understand what an assessor would understand when they see a claim. So in other words, get all the right documentation. How does it calculate the gap? How does it work in terms of our rules and benefits? And then gives you the right and correct outcome. So we're busy working on that and polishing it and moving it forward every day.
And I think the nice thing there is that you're not losing that human touch, because our team is prompting, our team is loading information,
Correct.
So we're not expecting the AI tools to know everything themselves. We're using their functionality.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
intelligence behind the scenes comes from our
Correct.
years and years of experience. So
And I think, sorry, Warren, to interrupt you, to add to that, we're basically taking the assessor's brain, if I can put it that way, and thought when they assess a claim, and then putting that down into the AI.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we almost, we're replicating the human skill set in an AI environment, which can move quicker and faster.
And then that allows our staff to focus more on things like the auditing,
Yes.
Specialized areas where their expertise, quality control, where the expertise is better used. So,
Yes.
Now, that's fantastic. Let me ask you a question. Do you think TRA as a business is stronger now that we've adopted AI?
There's no doubt it's stronger. I can see it in my interactions with our brokers and with our new shareholders, TIH. I use a lot of AI and Power BI in presenting the company's financial position, operational position, etc. And they're super impressed with it. So I think we're only stronger with this going forward.
Great. And I think you'll agree with me that artificial intelligence is the way of the future. I think there might be some members, some of our viewers who might be a bit skeptical or a bit scared of adopting artificial intelligence, but I think we are living proof that if you embrace it and use it to your advantage, it definitely is the way of the future. So I'm sure you can agree with me there.
Yes, 100%. I think the future belongs to the people who do embrace it, like Warren just said, and you work with it to make yourself more productive and much better outcome.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks, Geoff. It's been, I know it's our first interview as part of the expanded Inside TRAQ team.
Great.
But looking forward to many more. Because as we've told viewers, our team has expanded with yourself and Rena. She's our head of IT. And I think it's just going to make the podcast a lot more beneficial. We've now got so much more resource to fall back on. So excellent. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Warren. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
And look forward to the next time.
Yeah, excellent.
We can discuss the TRA business.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you guys want to comment on it, but I think our level of adoption of the technology is made our company incredibly stronger.
Yep.
So
No doubt about that, Warren. And one can't hide away from artificial intelligence or machine learning anymore.
Yeah.
It is the future.
Absolutely.
It has just sped up the world. The world is much faster, much quicker. And it's better to embrace the technology than to shy away from it.
I think that's the point, Ed. I think you have to bring it on board. You're not going to be able to play in the industry or be a player if you don't bring on the technology.
Yeah, sure.
And those companies that do, like TRA, and we've certainly been at the forefront of it.
Absolutely.
And leading the way in the medical field. I think we're going to see it with a lot more medical companies, and those who don't will be left behind.
Definitely, Doc. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think to end, we've had another great episode. We've learned a lot, and I think we've been inspired a lot. So here's looking forward to our next episode. And again, bring us your questions. Bring us if you questions, thoughts, comments.
And any episodes that you'd like to hear.
Absolutely.
We'll certainly cover them. And then be that actually on the medical sphere, as we've said, or technology in healthcare, or as Alan said, in terms of the regulatory medical aid and funding environment.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's it from us. Looking forward to chatting to you guys again. And that's it from us.
Right.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Don't stress, the gap is covered.